If you thought January was brutal, I need you to sit down for this one. It's Saturday, February 7th, 2026, and as I record this, the eastern United States is getting slammed by yet another wave of Arctic fury. Wind chills plunging to 30 below across New England, gusts tearing past 55 miles per hour, and temperatures so cold that some cities could break records that have stood for decades. But here's the part that should really get your attention. What's happening today is not the main event. It's a preview. High above us in the stratosphere, something massive is unfolding. A sudden stratospheric warming event that is literally cracking the polar vortex in half. And when that split fully arrives at ground level over the next week to 10 days, this country's weather is about to shift into a gear we haven't seen since some of the most legendary winters in recent memory. I'm going to walk you through everything. Every city, every region, every twist in this forecast from now through February 16th. Let's go. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now let's move on. First, let me paint the picture of what today looks like across America, because this is one of the most extreme temperature contrasts you'll ever see on a single weather map. Right now, a fast-moving clipper system has just raked across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, laying down 1 to 3 inches of fresh snow from the upper Midwest all the way through Pennsylvania and into New England. But the accumulation isn't what's dangerous. It's the air mass riding in behind it. This is legitimate Arctic air, the kind that doesn't visit the lower 48 very often. Extreme cold warnings and high wind advisories are in effect from the Delmarva Peninsula straight through to Maine. We're looking at sustained northwest winds of 25 to 35 miles per hour, with those gusts pushing well past 50 in exposed areas. The combination of the wind and the cold is creating conditions where exposed skin can develop frostbite in minutes. This is serious, no joke cold. Now here's where it gets wild. While the East shivers through this misery, the western two-thirds of the nation is living in an entirely different season. The NWS Weather Prediction Center is forecasting temperatures 20 to 30 degrees above normal across the northern and central plains. Monday and Tuesday, places like Montana and South Dakota are going to see highs in the 60s in early February. Meanwhile, New York might not even break 20. This kind of split personality in the atmosphere, deep freeze on one side, spring warmth on the other, is exactly what happens when the polar vortex is deformed and stretched out of shape. MIT research scientist Judah Cohen described the vortex this winter as doing its best stretching and compressing continuously, allowing frigid air to keep escaping southward. Let me take you through this city by city for the next few days. New York City, highs stuck in the mid-teens today, overnight lows crashing into single digits. Sunday offers a little sun but stays bitterly cold in the low 20s. Monday, you'll still be fighting sub-freezing air before a much-needed warm-up pushes highs back toward the low 30s by Tuesday and maybe the mid-40s by Wednesday. But that moderation won't last. Boston. This is ground zero for the worst of it this weekend. Highs barely touching 15 degrees, wind chills making it feel like -20 to -30 on Sunday morning. Parts of New England could challenge daily records for lowest maximum temperatures. The Boston area finished January with an 8-day streak of temperatures that ran over 13 degrees below the seasonal average, and February is picking up right where January left off. Philadelphia, expect highs around 15 to 18 today with dangerous wind chills well below zero through tonight. Recovery begins slowly Monday, with a return to the low 30s, then pushing into the 40s by midweek. Washington, D.C., highs in the low to mid-20s this weekend, wind chills in negative territory. Snow is possible later in the week, with about a 30% chance of mixed rain and snow arriving by Friday. And keep in mind, February is historically DC's snowiest month, and forecasters are tracking a possible 3 to 7 inch monthly total that would be right in line with that reputation. Moving to the Midwest, Chicago is looking at single-digit temperatures this weekend before an almost absurd swing into the 40s by midweek. That kind of temperature whiplash is hard on infrastructure, roads, and people. Detroit and Cleveland are locked into the same pattern. Frigid cold now, a brief thaw, and then the question becomes what comes next. Minneapolis stays deep in the freezer, though even the Twin Cities will catch a slight break in the middle of next week. The real story across the Great Lakes region is the parade of clipper systems. These fast-moving disturbances each bring an inch or two of snow, but when they stack up over a 10-day period, you're looking at meaningful accumulation. NOAA's Climate Prediction Center has flagged the entire state of Michigan for above normal February snowfall, with probabilities running 50 to 60% above typical levels. Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Illinois are all in that same above-normal snowfall zone. Buffalo's lake effect snow machine has been running on overdrive, and it's not shutting down anytime soon. The Southeast is in a strange place right now. Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, Raleigh, these cities are still picking up the pieces from what January threw at them. That massive winter storm at the end of the month, over 150 people died, over 1 million lost power. A foot of snow fell on Charlotte. 6 inches hit Myrtle Beach. Nashville suffered a devastating ice storm. Historic snowfall was recorded across both Carolinas. The immediate forecast brings some moderation, but don't let that fool you. Black ice remains a hazard every night as temperatures continue to drop below freezing after dark. And the longer-range outlook is not reassuring. If the polar vortex collapse delivers on its coldest potential into mid and late February, another freeze event could reach much further south than normal. Atlanta should be prepared for overnight lows dipping into the low 20s during the coldest windows of the next 10 days. Now for the Plains and South Central states, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Omaha. You're about to experience the most dramatic temperature swings anywhere in the country. The ridging pattern is going to push temperatures to borderline ridiculous levels for early February. Kansas City and Oklahoma City in the 40s and 50s, Dallas potentially flirting with 60 degrees by midweek. But this region sits on the express lane for every Arctic air mass that drops out of Canada. When the vortex collapse fully propagates to the surface, and models say that's coming around February 12th through 16th, the cold air has a straight shot down the plains. Dallas could go from near 60 to below freezing in the span of a few days. Houston, which already dealt with freeze events earlier this season that stunned the state, needs to keep a close watch. Out west, it's a completely different universe. Los Angeles and the Bay Area will sit comfortably in the 60s and low 70s, but the Pacific Northwest is about to see action. A shortwave moving in by Monday brings precipitation across the Intermountain West. The Cascades, Northern Rockies, and Sierra Nevada should start getting meaningful mountain snow. After weeks of a stubborn ridge keeping the West warm and dry, 9 out of 11 western states just had their warmest December on record. Any moisture is welcome. Now let me explain what's driving all of this. A sudden stratospheric warming event, confirmed as of yesterday's model runs, is in its early phase and forecast to fully split the polar vortex into 2 separate pieces by around February 12th to 15th. One lobe pushes toward Eurasia, the other settles over North America. The pressure pattern models are showing for mid-February is a textbook post-collapse setup, a blocking high over the Arctic and Greenland, with a deep trough stretching from the United States across the Atlantic. But here's the complication that makes this genuinely unique. A massive tropical wave called the Madden-Julian Oscillation is moving through at exactly the same time. This MJO wave creates a counterforce in the lower atmosphere that temporarily pushes back against the cold from the stratospheric collapse. Severe Weather Europe called it a rare clash of titans, the stratosphere pushing cold down while the MJO pushes a competing pattern up from below. The result? The February 12th through 14th window might actually see near normal temperatures in parts of the central and eastern U.S., even as the vortex falls apart overhead. But that interference is temporary. The MJO moves on, and once it does, the stratospheric signal reconnects with the surface. Extended range forecasts already show the return of post-collapse cold patterns in late February and into early March. So February 15th and 16th could mark the atmosphere reloading for another serious blast. Let me put this in perspective. AccuWeather has classified this as the first severe winter in the Northeast since 2017-2018. Dozens of Midwest and Northeast cities carry that classification. January's storm killed over 150 people across at least 16 states. The Hudson River froze thick enough to shut down all NYC ferry routes for days. Cold-stunned iguanas fell from trees in Florida. NASA delayed the Artemis II moon launch because of a rare Arctic outbreak at Cape Canaveral. A house on North Carolina's Outer Banks collapsed into the ocean during the nor'easter. The Northeast is buried under layers of what people call snowcrete, dense, ice-packed accumulation that won't melt, creating dangerous roof loads and treacherous sidewalks. So what does the next 10 days add up to? For the Northeast, plan on a roller coaster. Dangerously cold this weekend, a midweek warm-up, then the real question of what the vortex collapse delivers by the 15th and 16th. Snow potential stays elevated, with models eyeing a possible cyclone that could bring another major event to New England. Boston could add 4 to 8 inches, New York 2 to 5 near term, with more possible later. For the Midwest, the Clipper train keeps rolling. For the Southeast, stay vigilant. Another cold intrusion is never more than days away. For the plains, enjoy the warmth while it lasts. And for the West, welcome the returning moisture. This February is shaping up to define a winter for a generation. A collapsing polar vortex, a fading La Nina stepping aside, and the coldest air on the planet aimed at the heart of this country. Keep your emergency kit stocked, your vehicles ready, and your coats within reach. We are nowhere near done. Stay safe, and I'll be back as this vortex collapse unfolds. Thanks for watching.